Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I'm going to do a little bit of a follow-up video to my entire last year of reviews, everything I did in 2017. I did this for 2016 and people seem to enjoy it, so I'm going to do it again. And my focus here is not going to be so much on the gear itself, but on the process of another year worth of reviewing. This is going to be very meta. It's going to be very, I don't know, up in my own head here. So if you're just looking for another gear review, you might skip this. Also, it's worth noting that I'm going to be doing a slideshow sort of thing, so you're not going to get frantic hand gestures. This is a pro or a con, but rest assured, I can't stop myself from making them right now. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about some of the knives I took a look at here in 2017. And we'll kind of just go somewhat chronologically. So, okay, the very first review that I released in 2017 was of the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. I'm sorry, this is the full-size grip, and this is a knife that I have a complex relationship with. I acknowledge that many people love this and consider it to be one of the very best pieces, but I still just can't quite get it. And especially with the release of things like the Benchmade Freak and Mini Freak, now I feel like the Griptilian is going to be less and less relevant in Benchmade's lineup over time here. It's still a fine piece, I guess, but yeah. Speaking of knives that have become less and less relevant, this is the Spyderco Para 3. This is a knife that was released to great fanfare. I was really excited about this knife because on paper it seemed like a great idea. It's the Para 2, the PM2 that is, one of the very better, one of the greater pocket knives out there, but then made a little bit smaller. But the thing is, what I didn't account for is that when you make a PM2 smaller, it just becomes a smaller PM2. And we have that. It's called the Spyderco Delica. There are a bunch of other options as well. And so ultimately, the PM3 was a knife that, although it really came into the world with a roar, kind of left with a little bit of a thud, and it was really hurt substantially by the the pocket clip arrangement. As you can see, it had very, very shallow carry when it was tip-up carry, and so a lot of people really struggled with that. There's a big thread on the Spyderco forums where you get bitter people, oh, well, it's just something the YouTubers made up to make. But anyways, that was definitely an issue. This was also during the red Loctite era, as you can see by the stripped screw in the top corner there. So, anyways, the PM3 is a Para 3, that is a knife that I thought a great deal about and then suddenly stopped thinking about abruptly. And seeing it here as I was going through this list of videos, like, huh, that's right, that was a thing. Weird. The Cold Steel Lucky one I reviewed pretty early on during the course of the year there, and it's still a weird knife to me. It still shows considerable promise. It's something that excites me to see from Cold Steel because it was one of the very first, I think, modern traditionals. That's become a thing now. Absolutely 100%. Between the Lion Steel Roundhead, the JE Made is doing stuff now, the Benchmade Proper. A bunch of people are getting on the modern traditional bandwagon, but weirdly enough, Cold Steel was kind of there first. It's a knife I didn't end up loving for a couple of reasons, but it was still a weird one, and it's one I gotta give respect for. This is a knife that was probably ahead of its time. This is the Giant Mouse GM2, which was a follow-up to the GM1, obviously, as the numbering scheme would indicate. And it was a knife that was good, but ultimately kind of left me pretty cold. And the big issue you can see right here in this picture was that the carbon fiber was just done poorly. There was a lot of chatter, there was a lot of nastiness to it, and so ultimately the big kind of whoa feature of this guy was these beautiful machine carbon fiber handles, but they didn't turn out to be all that interesting in execution, and it was just kind of a weird knife overall. And so the GM2 was in some ways, I think, well, I don't know, it was a very poor follow-up to the GM1, which was this incredible piece, and so that was a little bit sad. I'm hoping that, we've seen the GM3, which I'll talk about later, in the GM4, which I just reviewed recently, and Giant Mouse seems to be getting their footing back, and maybe they've given the factory a little bit of talking to there, but yeah, that was a little bit of a disappointing knife, 100%. But, still works fine for some people. Can't argue, I guess, too much. Okay, next up was the KMA System. This was one of the reviews that really changed a lot of things for me because I originally picked this system up just for a review. I just figured, okay, I've been using the Edge Pro. I love the Edge Pro. Let me try this damn KME thing. Bird was talking about. The KME system is really, really nice, and I've appreciated it more and more as I've used it. People ask me, Nick, do you still use KME? Yeah, this is my sharpening system of choice. I'm going to try some other ones, 100%. I'd like to try the Viper Sharp system, which is sort of along the lines of the Lansky KME world, but maybe a little less expensive. I do want to actually do a review of the Lansky system as well, because, again, it's got that same guided angle sort of thing going on. But I still love this system. And every time I use it, which is unfortunately not all that often, I mean, fortunately, I suppose, but, you know, I still. Yeah, this brings me some joy. I've also, since this review, been playing around with the strop-based version rather than the films. I've been getting really nice results off of that, too. And so, you know, people often ask me, Nick, hey, strops or films? I don't know yet. I'm still, I don't shop in all that much because I carry a bunch of knives, so I don't wear any one of them all that hard. But, still, yeah, that's something you should definitely consider. And if you're looking for a shopping system, this is still 100% my overall recommendation. Next up is this little guy. This is the tie lock, which died this year, which is terrible. Not my knife, but the concept of it. But this is a clip by Millet Knives for the tie lock, and this is one of the first things that really put Millet seriously on my radar. This turned out to be a case study, though, in, well, kind of the fact that a small little issue can over time really wear on you over and over and over. This was a clip that works 90% as well as my putting a Shabazz clip on the tie lock version works. Except every damn time you unplug it, you put it into your pocket and not, it just caused a little bit of pain. And over enough time, carrying the knife often enough with this clip, it was just like, you know what? That extra 10% is not a big deal, but it's a deal. And it was enough to make me put the Shabazz clip back onto the knife, and it was enough to, even though this is way prettier and I think it suited the knife better, the Shabazz clip was just functionally better enough on this particular knife that it ended up going that way. And so this is sort of one of those case studies in the fact that something you carry and use every damn day, or at least on a very regular basis, the little things do add up, and this was a victim of that. Next up is the Kershaw Blur. This is an interesting knife in a lot of ways. This is one I probably didn't give enough credit to. This is on a regular basis. You know, there are these knives where I feel like, you know, yeah, it's better than I think it is. And I didn't give the steel enough credit here. I keep learning more and more about steel and about budget steel, and more specifically about what, you know, is worth a damn and what's worth a damn over time. I mean, especially, you know, on the super steel level, they are all good, but, you know, what the 14C28N is like, I should give that steel a lot more credit than I do. Anyways, I digress. This is an interesting piece, and frankly, it's a better piece than I gave credit for. And so if you're thinking about the Blur, and then I gave it a ho-hum review, I don't know. There is a lot of joy to be found there. I mean, it wouldn't be a classic if there wasn't. This guy is a custom knife by Martinez van Wyk, and he is actually a guy that I met at Blade Show. He was there. He had a couple of his stuff on the table. This is still a great piece. It's absolutely not necessarily a knife that I would buy for me, particularly with the sandblasting and whatnot, but knowing him, and I've been following on Instagram, and he's become much more prominent in the community, and I'm really, really happy to see that, because this was an incredible piece from a brand new maker, and seeing his stuff maturing and getting better is just a joy. And meeting him, he's a really nice guy, and so this is a knife I look on fondly in a review that I remember well. So, yeah, anyways, there you go. Oh, the Medford Marauder review. Oh, I love this review so very, very much. I'm sorry. My bad. Anyways, the Medford Marauder review gets a lot of hate because I kind of tore the knife apart. Well, actually, my buddy did. I treated this knife as a sculpture, as modern art, which in many ways it is. But it actually ended up getting back to Greg Medford, believe it or not. And he and I had some interesting discussions about it, and ended up, I think I understand a little bit better, and frankly, I think he understands that this is a little ridiculous, and you can see his modern work is getting back towards something that more approaches cutlery. So I still love this review. I think creatively wise, well, my buddy had a lot of fun with it, so to speak. And, you know, yeah, it gets haters, but this was a review that brought me a lot of joy, even though, yeah, it was a little bit harsh, but it's also a sculpture, let's be real here. Next thing, Reich 1507T. Reich Knife is a company I've been watching, and I've been seeing, and I like so much of what they're doing. Like, they are really, really great handle makers. And I feel this over and over again, and I'll say the same thing when we come to the 1508, which is an integral. Reich is an incredible handle-making company. Unfortunately, though, the blades that they put on the knives tend to be just not meant for cutting. They are ornamental pieces, and that's really disappointing to me. And this was a very first kind of encounter with Reich outside of, you know, a couple of moments handling, and, you know, it's disappointing. So I continue to feel about this the same way I feel about the 1508. This is a great knife, but unfortunately was a little bit let down by, well, the eventual construction there. Right here we've got the Southern Grind Spider Monkey, and this is a knife that actually caught me a little bit of heat as well, my review of this guy. Because in my review, I basically said that this was a knife that was put together in such a way as to mask poor tolerances and whatnot. And actually, I got called out on this. On the Blade forums, I'm going to leave his name out of it, but a knife dealer, a smaller independent dealer, called me out, said, well, Nick, if you had a problem, you should have sent it back. You can't just trash these guys. These are small businesses, etc. And the thing is, that interaction with that guy, and I don't mean to make him out like a bad guy. He's standing up for the people he distributes, and that's respectable at a very real level. But that was an interesting discussion. It was in I think it's on Blade Forum still. Is a Nick Shabazz thread, but it made me think very hard about how do I want to treat these situations where there's a small maker who's doing work that's okay, but has serious issues, knowing that there are serious consequences. And so that conversation with that person, who I've since talked with further, and I come to I've respected him then, but I think there's more of a mutual understanding that's developed, made me think a lot about my role as a reviewer, not to aggrandize or anything here, but there is certainly a role for good and bad reviews in making somebody's life easier or harder as a business person. In this case, I still stand by it. Every time I've handled them, even at Blade Show, they're just not so well made. They're pretty, but man, and I hope that's going to get better. But as it stands, I've had trouble with this. But that was an interesting conversation, and it was an interesting sort of moment for bringing thinking into my review world. So there you go. Hey, remember fidget spinners? Yeah, that's right. The EDC community was all up in this for a solid 4 months, and then they hit the middle schools, and suddenly all of these 40-year-old men who were carrying fidget spinners around for $500 realized, oh crap, we got to get out of here. And so now all the makers have like 1 million unsold fidget spinners. Oh, yeah. Look, there are still people who love them, who appreciate them, and that's fine. They're welcome to. But I am continually amused by the alacrity with which the EDC community ditched this thing the moment they hit the mall kiosks. Entertaining as heck. This is the Amazon Alexa Dot. This is one of relatively few tech reviews that I've done. I picked this guy up on a lark. It turned out to be a piece of crap, just not very smart for a smart assistant. The comments on YouTube were hilarious because they were all just like, oh my God, you're just giving the NSA a room into your house, etc. Like, yeah, I know that's but anyways, these tech reviews are things that I've contemplated doing more of. I may do more in the future. The HomePod from Apple is a similar thing. I've contemplated it, but at the same time, it didn't get a whole lot of interest on the channel. If you're interested in more of these, let me know in the comments. But for the most part, that was still a terrible little system there, and well, maybe it'd work better if I had a better voice. I don't know. But anyways, this is the Kershaw Oh So Sweet, which turned out to be sort of an underdog in my reviewing because honestly, it's a neat little knife. 100%. There's a lot of joy to be found in the Oh So Sweet. It's cheap as heck. It's meant to be so. But for being cheap, it's well designed. It's a good assist. It's well constructed to be a cheap knife. And it's still something that I hold up as a nice example of what you can do very inexpensively if your goal is to make it an expensive knife. And it's absolutely going to be a top contender when I'm planning to when I hit $1,500 a month in Patreon. That's just kind of the arbitrary thing. I'm going to start up a tournament for the very best knife under $20, which is going to be a bloodbath in some ways, but should be interesting, and this is absolutely going to be a contender. Ferrum Forge Archbishop. Oh, this is a nice knife, but actually, in a lot of ways, what's nice is that we have a similar knife now that has come out from Ferrum Forge and Masterdrop. The Masterdrop Crux, in a lot of ways, reminds me of this knife in a couple of ways. Just like it has that same feeling of just like this puts in good work. It's just a very nice piece. It's a shame that the Archbishop is dead forever because it's a Ferrum Forge and they did a limited run thing. But this is one of the ones that I'm glad to see is coming back, at least in part, in the form of the Crux there. And at a much better price point, too. This is the Omega Aqua Terra. At the end of this review, I said, well, this one's probably not going to stick around. It's a little too formal for me. Believe it or not, this one stuck around. This is still in my permanent watch collection because it is sort of my dress watch. I got a great deal on it, and I just don't have a whole lot of temptation to move it along, given that well, I got a good deal on it, and now I have a good dress watch. Maybe it'll go. Who knows? But this one, actually, I'm surprised that it stuck around, but it absolutely has. It also has sentimental value, I'll be honest with you. Shortly after I got this guy, like literally the day after, the fiance and I went on a very, very nice little mini vacation, and I wore it that whole trip, and so every time I look down at it, I think about, oh, yeah, that was nice. And so that's another factor, too, kind of the intangible stuff that you never think about. But anyways, there you go. It's the James Brand County. James Brand is a company that has, in my mind, the distinction of being the very best maker at handling criticism. I tore this freaking knife apart, and to be fair, it kind of deserved it. It was very poorly made for the price, and it just, as a knife guy, from that perspective, it was just like, no, I'm sorry, no. But the thing is, the James Brand guy actually turned out to be very, I don't even know how to put it, but was really cool about the whole thing, and looked at this as not like a, you suck, you're awful, how dare you say these things, but like, how can I improve this? And has reached out to me, and I've since done a little bit of stealth reviewing for this person. He's not actually James, believe it or not. But anyways, looking at some of the work that some of the upcoming models and trying to give advice and trying to make these, because it seems like, he wants to be able to reach both his target audience as well as knife people. And, so that's been, actually, I'm really impressed with the James Brand, at least the management there, because that takes serious guts to not only say, wow, that was a bad review, but, what can we learn from this? And, so that's really neat. And I hope I am able to help them learn something from it, because, well, hopefully I get something worth teaching, right? These are the Kershaw Dividend here, and then the Kershaw Link, that is. Both of these are incredible knives that came out, that I reviewed in 2017, and both of them stay in the forefront of my mind on a regular basis. Honestly, the Dividend and Link are the sort of, I don't know, they are the shining light for goodness in the world of Kershaw right now. So many of their Chinese-made knives are just freaking terrible. The USA factory, though, is putting out incredible stuff like this. And in fact, the Dividend is a knife that I didn't give enough credit to in the end of the year video. They released an M390 Dividend for under $100 that probably should have been my budget knife of the year. I didn't think about it, and it was a limited edition sort of thing, although I think they're coming back. And I was actually able to pick up a House of Blades edition S35VN Dividend that has worked its way into my collection, because it is a really nice slicey knife, and with that steel, there's nothing to complain about with it. So the Dividend is probably a way better knife than I've given it credit for, and so I feel like this knife should have gotten even more love than it already did, and particularly, that was probably not a thing I should have omitted from my end of the year, best of 2017 sort of thing, especially with the upgraded steel. The budget version didn't quite make it, but the upgraded version absolutely would. Same thing, there's an upgraded version of the Link that's pretty excellent. John Gray SLT. This is still a great knife, just in that it is so strange. And John Gray is actually a maker I've had some interactions with on the Instagram and whatnot. Nice guy. I still love this thing, and I still have no idea why I love this thing, but it's a beautiful beater, and that's weird and that's awesome. So I still support the heck out of this. Casio Royale. This is a watch that in some ways it's kind of hilarious. I have gone back and forth, and I'm right now wearing a Breitling Aerospace, which is a completely ridiculous watch that also does things like world timing, chronograph, etc. It's much more minimalist a little bit, but in some ways it's funny to me that I'm paying a great deal of money for a watch that's very, very similar in functionality to this, except, yeah. I still like this watch a lot. I know that I cannot wear this watch and remain married to the fiancé. Let's just be real here. Well, I'm not married to her yet, but it'll happen here shortly. But anyways, that's still, I should have given this watch maybe more credit than I did, although I think I gave it lots. Oh, well, Ma. Oh, well, Ma. At Blade Show, I walked by their table. I said, hey, guys, any plans to use better steels? They said, nope. just like completely shamelessly. I kept walking. And that's basically how I feel about Alma Knives. It is a company that is just so trapped in the freaking past. Steel-wise, they're sitting on these incredible... If they dropped this knife in M390, it would just be like a revelation. Because it is a great slicer. It is a great lightweight... It would be excellent, but the fact that they keep using these crappy steels, and given they're getting every ounce of performance out of them, but that's not many ounces. There's only so much blood you can get out of a freaking turnip. There's only so much cutting power you can get out of RC. This is a company that is just so under something. I don't know. It must have been in Almar's freaking will that they never move on from RC or something like that, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. So I hope they get their act together and get a catalog from some modern steel company sooner or later. But no, still a great piece, but just so underserved by that. This is a knife with great steel, Benchmade Contigo. This is a knife I found myself recommending more than I expected to. It's a big thing. It's a huge thing. It's a murdery. It's crazy. It's an absolutely absurd knife, but it's a really well done absurd knife. And in some ways, it is a very nice expression of the axis lock and of that whole idea. I think there's a lot of joy to be found in the Contigo. And, yeah. And so I find myself, if people want big, hard-use beatery knives, and particularly the M4, it's like, yeah, the Contigo's a pretty solid choice. It's not for me. Oh, hey, it's not for me. It's jimped like crazy, but if you're going on the oil fields or something, my God, the Contigo, you're going to struggle to do better. Kaiser T1, still a great knife, absolutely 100%. Cedric Ada loves his. Everybody I've talked to who's got one loves it. They're just solid pieces. And it's one of the, probably it's still the best thing to come out of Kaiser all last year. Kaiser had a little bit of a rough year on and off, but this was a highlight, 100%. So I support that completely. Right here, ZTO 460. You like this knife? Good. This is innovation from ZT. I'm sorry, I'm hopping on them. They're releasing the 462, which is this guy, but bigger. I still don't love this knife. I look at it, it's just like, with the freaking gastrointestinal bleed carbon fiber, which seems to be there on the big guy. I don't know. I just don't love this. I don't think I'm going to love the big guy either. I might check it out just out of respect for the 452, but yeah, I still... Yeah. F108. Yet another watch that does basically the same thing as the expensive one on my wrist, just way, way cheaper. $12. This is such a damn good watch for the amount of money you pay, and I can't even live with myself with the amount I pay for other watches. This is so damn good. And again, I don't say that often enough, I feel like. I mean, it's absurd that I do high-end pieces when there's this. Speaking of high-end pieces, oh, the Planet Ocean. Planet Ocean is an incredible watch, and the review of it is actually coming. I mean, the reason I haven't done my review is that in a lot of ways I said a lot of what I needed to say in my early impressions video. I very succinctly laid down the good and the bad of the watch. I am going to do the full thing, and I also did a nice comparison of it with the 300. It's still a great piece. I don't know if it's going to stick around in the long term, though, because it is just so damned expensive. That is a lot of money to have tied up in a wristwatch, 100%. If I was super rich, it would never sell. Never, 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 because it is such a damn good piece, but this is just a really pricey watch that's going to, in a few years, need a really pricey service, and... You know, it's great, though. And in the year, if it tells you anything, that watch has like a 60-hour power reserve, and it ran for 220 continuous days. It has only recently gotten a break because I've been wearing the Breitling Aerospace more, and I figured I'd give it a little bit of a break there. And in that time, it was a total of like 1 second off because I would, you know, if I wear it, it gains or it loses time. If I take it off, it gains time. So it balanced out. That's such a damn good watch. It's just huge, and it's heavy, and it's pricey. So I just don't know. But keep an eye out for the full review coming up before too long here. There are some knives that kind of disappear from the mind shortly after you review them. Looking through the list here, there were a bunch of knives that I reviewed in 2016 that I'm not even, or 2017, that I'm not even going to talk about in this video. This is not among them. The Mud is a knife that sticks out. The Mud is just an incredible freaking piece. It's a weird knife, 100%. Absolutely bizarre, but it is also a joy. And it's a knife that I absolutely 100% respect. There's going to be an automatic version of it coming out soon, which is kind of awesome, because I think that'll be even cooler with this guy. But, yeah, this is a knife that I respect so much has been made and is so, so, so bizarre that it stands out from the crowd, and I still just love that deeply. Speaking of really great watches that I don't give quite enough credit to, is the Seiko Turtle. This was an incredible dive watch, in that it was actually pretty accurate. I mean, accuracy-wise, this is in the same vicinity as the Omega Speedmaster I had, as the Omega Seamaster 300, etc. Yet it was much less expensive, like $200. The lume on it was incredible. The day date worked beautifully. The only thing that I hated about this watch was the freaking bracelet, which was bad. But you know what? For the price, this was really great. And so this is one of my go-to recommendations now for a lower-end mechanical watch. Not that this is particularly low-end, because this is really where, once you get out of the SKXs and whatnot, these are where they get better. Oh, the cricket wrinkle. Even the picture makes me laugh. I had way too damn much fun with that review, because it was just a series of turd jokes. And you know what? It's one of the better things I've done in my life. So I plan to do more of these, and I have done more of these. My wood pun review of the wooden dragonfly, and I got more of them coming. This was a review that I enjoyed more than most, and that I'm more proud of than most, even though it is just a series of poop jokes. And you know what? That's just fine. So I'm going to be doing more of those more comical-based reviews in the future, too. Speaking of knives that are hilarious, this is the Real Steel E571, where I filmed the review, and then I got another, and in the review I said, God, this one's terrible. Then I got another one in, and the other one was terrible too. And so this knife here, coupled with a couple of other experiences, left me feeling like Real Steel just wasn't worth my time. And I've been trying really hard to decide whether or not this is biased. The thing is, there are a billion of these little Chinese micro brands popping up every damn day. And when I have a couple of really bad knives out of one of them, it's really hard to keep feeding the hand that bites me. And so, given that Ruaiki is coming out of the same damn factory, that your Sanren moves, all of your other things are out there, it's really hard for me to continue giving money to companies that put out crap. And ultimately, even if the crap is only a small part of their product line, yeah. And, you know, I almost, the hypocrisy here is like with Kershaw. They put out crap too. Their Chinese-made line there are some terrible freaking knives in there. Yet they also put out good stuff. And so if I dismiss Kershaw on the basis of their crappy knives, should I do the same to Real Steel? I don't know. But if these small companies want to get recognition, they have to not put out crap. I'm sorry, I don't feel like I'm asking too much here. I'll probably look at some more Real Steels in the future, maybe a little higher up the lineup. But it really, really hurts me to go back and put more time and effort after a company that did this twice. I don't know. But on the bright side, it's a cheaper way to go through life, not reviewing something. Speaking of which, right here we have the McGizmo Haiku flashlight. This is a custom flashlight, about $500. And luckily, very, very luckily, it left me feeling like I don't need custom flashlights. Thank God. I have enough expensive-ass hobbies as it is, namely watches, knives, and computers, that I just do not need anything else here. And this is a great light, 100%. One of the best lights I've ever handled, but it just wasn't that much greater than a lot of your more modest lights, you know, even your $70 lights, even your $20 lights. And so I feel like, luckily, I dodged this bullet. The custom light thing just doesn't make sense to me, and I haven't gone any further down that road. Been playing with other flashlights, because obviously flashlights are useful tools, but I am regularly grateful that I don't have that particular expensive taste. Right here, we got the Seiko AT Taitaku Tanto. Still, definitely best name of the year, 100%, and a really great action. Button locks need more respect, 100%. And this was a really nice piece in terms of that action. Unfortunately, it was also kind of a toy, which I'm not a big fan of. It was underbuilt in the way that only Seiko AT can, but I still think fondly of the action on this guy with the button lock, the flipper. That was very nicely done. It's just one in the pantheon of knives I wish Seiko AT had done better. Next up is this guy. This is the Spyderco Polestar. So actually, just this morning, that would be the February the 10th, I was looking at the Spyderco forums, because I look over there, I'm interested in what they got going on, and actually there was an interesting post by Sal Glesser, of Spyderco, the founder of the company, talking about this guy and basically saying that this was an interesting experiment. It was never intended to, and I'm paraphrasing badly, but it was never intended to replace the tenacious, etc. Instead, it was meant to give people a slightly better steel, which BD1 is slightly better than CR13 MOV. But and to give them a slightly different, more attractive look. But he actually said that these aren't selling all that well, and part of it is the price, and that they weren't really intended to be a super value. It was just a Chinese-made folder with an American steel, which a lot of people were clamoring for. And so I'm really curious what the future of these is going to look like, because there's the Polestar and I think the Alcyon and whatnot. That was an interesting thread to read. And I'm like I said, I'm curious to see whether these are eventually going to go away, whether they're going to just swap out the tenacious line for these guys. I don't think they're going that route, but we'll see. But that was interesting to see. And looking back at this, I'd kind of forgotten that this exists, honestly. Because, like I said, well, like he said, the value isn't like, oh my God, they are relative to the Chinese stuff, and yeah, especially with the price hike now, yikes. This is another knife that I'd kind of forgotten about until I saw it in my, oh yeah, I reviewed that. This is the Rayard Horizon. There are knives that I just completely, that are just so, they disappear in my mind. They're like, they're fine. It's a fine knife. It's a good knife even. I'll go even that far. But honestly, 20 minutes after it's out of your consciousness, it's just like it's gone. Because it is very generic. There's nothing super like, oh my God, about it. And I feel that way looking at this picture even more. It's just like, at some level, it's a bit of a snoozer. And it's going to be a fine piece. But there's that weird sense in the EDC world and in the knife world where it's like, okay, this is a really great knife right here. And, oh, you know what? I completely don't care. And so ultimately, this is a knife that, looking back, I just don't give a crap about. And it's funny, because it was good, it was solid, but apparently there needs to be more than good and solid to stick around in my mind when I look at so many knives, and this one absolutely did not. This one did. This is a knife I never expected to stick around, because in fact, when I got it out of the box at first, I freaking hated it. I thought it was an awful, terrible little thing, because it had the sharp spine, and what the heck is this? Why is it shaped this way? Then I carried it, then I used it like, oh, this is a really good design. And so this guy is in my permanent collection. Pardon me, it is a great little knife just to throw in your pocket on a random day when you know you're going to the post office and you're going to get another knife or something like that. I really like this knife a lot more than I expected to. The steel is not great. N690 is a steel that I am just as happy to see go away. But hey, whenever you're ready there, Bola. Move the freaking South Africans to something better. But no, I kid. But aside from that, it is a really nice little piece. And I am a fan of the Rhodey way more than I ever expected to be. Next, we got the Char knives, and I did this video, Nick's take on Char and other no-name dice roll knives. So Char is actually a company that is now kind of banned from the channel because they are flat out doing homage pieces at this point. They are releasing knives they've got one that is just like okay, you took a Millet torrent, you made something just different enough that you don't get sued. I don't love that at all, but I feel this video's contents more strongly than ever. When I put it out, a lot of people were on me like, Nick, but no, Two Sons makes incredible stuff, and, Ethan Flock, or whatever the heck the latest non-word Chinese company is. But I'm feeling this more and more and more and more, unfortunately, because every time I've stepped outside of my bubble and reviewed one of these no-name freaking brands, Vu King, who's a division of Steadimon, which themselves, it's just like, no, there's so much crap here, and it's just not worth my freaking time. Like, I get that there is so many of these. Like, if these companies come out and carpet bomb the world with, like, 50 different models, one of them's probably worth a damn. But the problem is sorting through those 50 models is not something I have the time to do. And so I'm grateful that there are channels that focus on these guys, that, look, and they'll buy, $200 worth of Char knives, which is like, 800 knives or something like that, and figure out which ones are gems and which ones are junk. But I feel more strongly than ever that these Chinese micro brands, I can't keep up. And if they're putting out things like, the Chars have been putting out, or like the freaking Steadimons and whatnot, I just don't feel it. And so, although this video has gotten me a lot of heat, I feel it more now than ever. So, that's beside the point. Speaking of brands, that have gotten me some heat, little jump forward there. Cold Steel. Every time I make a cold steel video, I get a very certain kind of commenter. It's like they have a service or something that just pages 13-year-olds whenever I post a cold steel video. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is. But this is actually a knife that made me respect the company a lot more. The Ultimate Hunter here is a great knife. It is not a fancy knife. It is not a Nick Shabazz knife in any way, shape, or form. It is just a great tool. It is a knife that, well, wants to put in work. It's a knife that I could very easily hand to any number of people in my life, and it would do just fine for them for a damn long time. And I respect more and more, actually, cold steel in that way, because there are so many companies that are putting out knives that are, really pretty and really nicely made, but crappy tools. We'll talk about a couple of those later. But they seem to drop knives that are just well made and do good work. The freaking Broken Skull, as douchey as the name was, is a knife that is well made and will put in good work. The Recons, etc., the American Lawman, etc. I've got more and more respect for cold steel every day. I'm still not worshipping at the Triad Locks altar. Damn it, it's a back lock that's a little stronger, but it didn't need to be stronger in the first place. And the 13-year-olds are going to find this video somehow and still swarm it and call me all kinds of names. But I am respecting cold steel more and more, and knives like the Ultimate Hunter are making me do that. So good on you, Cold Steel. But please don't send the fanboys. Please. All right, Omega Seamaster Professional Quartz. This is a watch I shouldn't have sold. I am just an idiot. When I got the Planet Ocean, I sold this guy figuring, well, I've got an Omega. I'm good. I got an Omega Diver. But this is a beautiful quartz watch. It was a great piece. It is a great piece, but I sold it to some jackass, and I shouldn't have done that, because now I'm thinking, well, I might sell the Planet Ocean, but what'll I replace it with? Well, ideally this watch, but I sold it already. I like this watch a lot. The bracelet drove me a little crazy. It just didn't have the adjustability I wanted. And if I could swap the bracelet from the Planet Ocean onto this guy, I would do it in a heartbeat. And the the bezel didn't work all that well. Still got the freaking helium escape valve, but this was so damn good and so damn quartz. And I'm not a brilliant man. But anyways, this was a great watch and way greater than I gave it credit for at the time. I am a quartz guy, and I need to just drop the freaking pretense and admit that, and go home. Oh, the Kaiser Feist. This was one of my disappointments this year. The Kaiser Feist was a knife that had serious problems. I had 2 or 3 of them. I had a couple of them cross my table. I think I had 2 that I disassembled, and I handled a couple of others. And they all had these major machining issues. Kaiser then went ahead and fixed those machining issues, which is great, but they didn't label the ones that they fixed. They didn't do like the Feist 2 or anything like that. And people are still getting ones from stores with the machining issues. And that's really ugly. They should have just either recalled them, so it's just like, okay, send us back the ones, we'll fix them, or called it the Feist 2 and then heavily discount the one. The way they handled that really didn't impress me much, and left me feeling like, oh, guys, I thought you gave a crap. And they fixed the issues. They're better now. And I hope that they learned a valuable lesson, which is that you can't ship crap, especially if you're in Chinese knife companies are not allowed to do that, because it reinforces the stereotypes that harm Chinese knife companies. I'm not saying the Chinese knife companies ship crap. Well, okay, there are definitely... It is the case that some of them do, but Kaiser and Kaiser and Wee and Rayot and whatnot cannot afford to do that, or else they're going to burn the bridge that they very carefully built. Burn the idea of high-end Chinese knife. So, anyways, this was a real disappointment to me, and I really hope Kaiser in 2018 does way better than this in the future. There is some signs of hope, though. The Kaiser Megatherium was a great knife. It's one that I didn't spend all that much time with, because ultimately it wasn't for my hands. It was just a little too big for my hands, honestly. But it was a really nice thing, and it was one of the first glimpses that we got of Elijah Isham's work, who is now kind of making things for everybody. The Wee Knives Eschaton is him. The Kaiser Theta, the Wee Knives Zeta. Maybe I mixed those two up. Whatever. He's doing a bunch of work for a bunch of people. Browse now, Robert Carter collab. Really cool designer and whatnot, but this is one of the very first ones that hit the shores, and it was a really compelling freaking piece. Absolutely not for me, but absolutely excellent. And, looking back, now he's like freaking everywhere, but at the time, people were like, who's this guy? What the heck is he doing? It's nice. Oh, this review, the here one. This was a set of Bluetooth earbuds that I picked up for review, thinking, okay, and because they had like a free trial kind of period thing, I gave it a shot, and they were just not quite there yet. They're great, but then they were facing competition like the AirPods and the Beat Sixes and whatnot. And you know what? They were so close, and I kept saying in the review, version 2, once they get these things right, version 2 is going to be great. But unfortunately, like probably a month after that review aired, the company went under completely. There's clearly a lot of people were having trouble with this, and it's a real shame because I think they had some incredible technology there. They just couldn't quite get it right, and that's kind of terrifying, honestly. I mean, yeah. It's starting a business is really hard and really freaking terrifying. So I'm sad that these folks went under, but honestly, given this first product, I'm not surprised. If they weren't heavily capitalized, yeah. Then finally, at least I'm going to do this as a two-parter because, good God, 45 things already. This was my the Nick is done with the world of custom knives video. This was a little bit of a lightning rod for controversy, just because I swore off the world of custom knives, and by and large, I've kept to that. And every time that I've strayed away from this principle, I haven't been a huge fan of that fact. I'm trying to think of some good examples here, but a couple of different times since, I've had a custom knife cross my table, like the JG Scout was a really nice knife, but they're hard to review. I feel really good about this policy in retrospect. I'm still happy to bend it on occasion, but for me, I realize more and more that customicity is not a beautiful thing, at least for my style of collecting and for my view of the world. Even the Southern Tolk, mini Tolk that is, I got one, and mine was one of the very first ones to come out, and it had some substantial issues. The backspacer was basically too tight, so I couldn't take the damn thing apart. And then I realized, wait a second, I'm not dealing with the warranty division of a company. I'm dealing with one guy. And so it was like 3 weeks to get it back. Brad's cool. No issues there. And the knife came back, and it was freaking great. In a lot of ways, that review's coming soon. But every time I stray closer to this custom line, I feel more and more like, yeah, I'm done with the world of custom knives. And so this is something that at the time I thought was, big and like, oh, man, am I going to regret this? But in retrospect, no, I don't regret this at all. I am so done with the world of custom knives. So anyways, we're actually going to go ahead and pause there, and I'll do part 2 of this probably tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. Hope you found this interesting. Feel free to comment down in the comments. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.